Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. WildMax1 here bringing another Raid Shadow Legends video. In today's video, we're going to be honoring a viewer request to showcase my Nightmare Hydra team on which I was able to get 1 billion damage featuring Ninja as my primary damage dealer. Today, I'll be going over the concept of how this team works, I'll be showing you some of the gameplay, and finally we'll be going over the builds of each of the individual champions. With that, let's get into it. So the star of today's video is undoubtedly Ninja, one of the best boss killers in the game. When I first got him on my account, I was mostly just using him in perception gear and relying on his HP burn from his A2s for all the damage. Then as I started getting better gear, I switched him from War Master to Helm Smasher, got some percent ignore enemy defense gear on him, and all of a sudden he was a completely different champion. With his escalation passive, he basically gets double the attack over the course of a longer encounter. So if you have a Ninja and he's just sitting in gear and you have a chance to rebuild him, I definitely recommend that you go back, revisit him, and see what you can do. If you're looking for a guide on how to do that, I have one linked in the description below for my Ninja Champion Guide. And with that, let's get into the showcase. So once you have your Ninja rebuilt with some good attack, crit damage, and some ignore percent defense gear, you can start building a team around him that's going to support that damage that he can do. Mikage is by far the best enabler for Ninja damage. She has an ally attack on her A3, and then her A1 essentially becomes Ninja's A1 because she's making him attack every time she uses it. Now, I also was able to get lucky and pick up a Teox, who also gets Ninja to attack with his A1 and does more damage based on how many debuffs are on the target. When the Mad Hatter fusion came out last year, I was so happy to see that because Mad Hatter effectively does the same thing as Teox by getting the highest crit damage ally to join his attack and doing more damage based off of how many debuffs are on the target. The rest of the team is just all set up and support. So Elva is my only reviver on the team, but does a really admirable job. Tons of heals coming out of her, a lot of buffs coming out of her, so we put her in protection set to boost that damage. Firrol, also in protection set, puts up several buffs and has that amazing passive as well. So between that, I cover most of the debuffs needed in Hydra. The only one I'm really missing here is Provoke. However, because of the amount of damage I do, I'm able to kind of bypass that by making sure that I cycle through heads and kill them quickly before any mechanics can start getting in the way of me dealing damage. And with that, let's take a look at my actual run. So we're going to be watching a recording of when I did this before. I didn't want to do this live because I could be distracted. This way I can talk through it and add some valuable commentary. So as I already mentioned before, no Provoke on my team. So my number one goal is going to be to either kill the Head of Decay outright in the beginning or to make sure that it becomes slower than the Head of Blight so that I can throw out my block buffs from Firrol and make sure that the Poison Cloud doesn't go out or goes out on as few heads as possible. I do this by applying the decreased speed to it, and then I apply my block buffs, and then my team starts going. On Teox, he has some damage boost that he gets from using his A2 twice, so I try to use that 2 times just to make sure that I get that stacked up for the rest of the run. But after that, Teox is pretty much using only his A1 in order to empower Ninja. Ninja, you have to cycle through his abilities 5 times, I believe it is, just to make sure to stack up his escalation passive fully. So you're going to see me doing that at different times. There may be a time or two that I choose to go for his A2 if I'm anticipating a Poison Cloud going out and I have no block buffs available at that moment, just so that I have an HP burnout and that way I can still DPS heads. But for the most part, all his damage after escalation is fully stacked is going to be coming from that A1. So in this case, Poison Cloud only went out on 1 head, which is good. As long as there's 1 head that I can DPS or do damage into at any point during the run, that run is a success in my mind. We need to average 1 million damage per turn in order to get that billion with the 1,000 turn limit, obviously. So all I'm trying to do is keep 1 head decapitated at all times, ideally 2, and then have the other 2 prepped and ready to go for decapitation once those heads regrow, right? So all I'm looking to do is to decapitate a head and then set up as many debuffs as possible on the decapitated head. Then I'll start putting damage into the non-decapitated heads while I set up the debuffs on the decapitated one, And then once we're ready to either use Teox's A1 or Mad Hatter's A2 for those empowered autos from Ninja, that's when we're going to be hitting those fully debuffed up decapitated heads and getting those big damage numbers. So initially 2, 3, maybe 4 million, but later in the run, as we'll see, it's going to be going just past 7 million per hit. So very solid numbers on that, obviously. And in doing it this way, in setting it up so that one head is always going to get cycled and get decapitated, you're really making sure you're not having to deal with a ton of mechanics at once. Because there's nothing worse than having block buffs set up on the heads, having the Head of Decay cleanse everything, and then having the Head of Blight put out Poison Cloud, and then you're just stuck for multiple turns, wasting turns of no damage, no setup or anything while you're waiting for the heads to cycle through and get the Poison Cloud debuff off of them. All right, so we skipped a little bit further into the run now. We're going to be starting to see those big numbers come up. So here we have a good scenario. We've got 2 heads alive and 2 heads decapitated. What I'm going to look to do is to slowly set up damage on those decapitated heads. So let's see what kind of a hit we get. 4.6 million. All right, so we're starting to get up there. All right, let's see what the Mad Hatter A2 will get us to. 6.8, almost 7 million. That's exactly what we're talking about. So now we're starting to DPS down the Head of Decay here, trying to get rid of that. We're going to... Mikage, that's another thing I forgot to mention, is Mikage and Mad Hatter are both really good on this composition because both of them provide a buff extend. So Mikage is A2 in her first form, and then Mad Hatter's A3, all extend buffs, which is really helpful when you have multiple champions with protection sets, because that enables you to just keep that damage bonus up. And Firrol's passive needs at least 4, you need at least 4 buffs up active on any champion in order to give that 20% damage boost. So having buff extenders on this kind of a team, extremely helpful. All right, let's proceed on here. Okay, Teox setting up a hit. 7.4 million. There you have it. Barely needed any debuffs on there. That's 7.2 million, I believe I saw there. I think that's about as high as Ninja's going to hit. So at 14 minutes, we're at 188 million overall damage. This is the point in the run when Ninja really starts to take over. You're going to start seeing him just really knocking down these heads. That was just a regular Mikage auto attack there. Let's see what kind of damage we're going to be doing. Those weak hits just kill you. It's so sad. Oh, 4.4 million on that. It's so sad whenever you see a Mad Hatter A2 or a Teox A2 go in and just be a weak hit, because you know those are going to just be massive hits, and it always hurts your soul just a little bit. But as Ninja starts to deal this massive damage, you can see here, the heads are really not that much of a concern anymore. Whenever I need one of them down, Ninja could pretty much take it down. And then at least early on into champions getting devoured, as soon as, unless it's Ninja himself, as soon as a champ gets devoured, Ninja pretty much knocks him out with 1A1. Really, really nice. So here I am slowing down DPS on the decapitated head and starting to work on the Head of Blight there, killing it in one ally attack. So now again, I am gonna start setting up on the other two, and then yeah, I mean, you can see there 3.8 million just from one hit. Here's a Teox hit, 4.5 million. It's really hard to unless you get unlucky at this point, you're pretty much rolling for a while with just this really easy to control composition because of the Ninja damage. That was a 6.6 million hit. Okay, now, as you saw there, 3 heads immune. We kill the remaining head, comes back not immune. Now, unfortunately, came back as the Head of Mischief, so I have to wait for a Hex debuff from Mad Hatter in this case. But that's the nice thing, is even if you have 3 heads with a immunity, because Plarium made that change, we are now able to be in situations where never able to be in a situation where we'll have all heads immune. So that's, again, why this kind of a composition with these single target attackers works. But yeah, if you like to manual your runs, this is obviously a fully manual composition. You cannot hope to achieve 1 billion damage with this unless you get extremely lucky. If you try to auto this or quick battle this, it's just not going to work. So if you don't mind on weeks where your clan may need to push, you want to put out your best nightmare damage, definitely use this kind of a team. But otherwise, I'll be making a separate video on quick battle teams later down the line. But now let's skip further ahead into the fight and check out another situation. All right, so we've skipped a little bit further into the fight. The reason that I wanted to bring us to this point is to show at 50 minutes in, we're at 843 million damage, and we just got the notification in the run that we are at the 750 turn count. So if we're going back to that average, we know that we're well above and well on our way to hitting 1 billion. You can use this as a good litmus test if you're going to be doing your own runs. If you see the count and you're below 750 million damage, you know that you need to be dealing more damage in order to hit 1 billion. If you're well over it, like we are in this case, then you're in a good spot. Now, based on this damage that we currently have, we should be well over 1 billion for this run, but unfortunately later in the run, Ninja gets devoured at a poor time. The head that devours him wasn't properly set up, and Teox wasn't able, who's my secondary damage dealer, wasn't able to break Ninja out. But anyway, with that, let's go and look at the final score again. So with the unfortunate devouring incident, we were still able to squeak by 1 billion, but just barely. We should have been well and comfortably over it. But with the final total, Ninja at just under 700 million, Teox with the second most at around 160, and then Mad Hatter with the third at 139. That's mostly just through hex damage. Now we're going to go through and actually show you how I have each of these different champions in this composition built, starting with none other than Ninja. So I have Ninja in 6-piece Merciless gear, which I think is one of the best, if not the best set for him. If you have 9-piece, even better. I have him at 49k HP, 6.1k attack, 253 speed, 327 crit damage, and just under 400 accuracy. However, I do pretty much have maxed out Hydra area bonuses, so we're actually sitting at 52.5k HP, 6.5k attack, 273 speed, 357 crit damage, and 475 accuracy. Now, he doesn't need that much accuracy for Hydra. The other bonuses definitely help him get the most out of it. If you are able to, I highly recommend you get into Live Arena and start maxing out your Hydra, your Faction Wars, and then later down the line when it comes out, your Chimera, or any other place where you need to progress. Those bonuses are extremely helpful. I'm just going to quickly run through the rest of his gear. We're sitting at an Arethi Coronet. We have Crushing Rend, obviously, as his blessing. And finally, for masteries, there they are. If you want, again, more detailed description of all this and why I have him built the way I do, please do check out the champion guide. For my Elva, she's sitting in 9-piece protection, and for total stats, we are at 96k HP, 3.4k defense, 302 speed, and the rest I don't really care about. For my with area bonuses, 100k, 3.7 defense, 322 speed. For her relic, I have her with a demonic effigy to make sure that she's rezzing anybody that goes down as quickly as possible, using intimidating presence on her. And here are my masteries on her. Again, I do have an Elva guide out if you need more help on how to build her or want to consider different builds. For my Lady Mikage, again, 9-piece protection. Total stats are 63k HP, 4k defense, 277 speed, and 485 accuracy. With Hydra bonuses, 68k, 4.2k, just under 300 speed, and 565 accuracy. You don't need anywhere near that much accuracy, but that's just what I ever built in. For her relic, she's using a Molten Death Bell. Have her with Cruelty as the blessing, and then here are her masteries. And now my last protection user of the comp, Firrol, once again in 9-piece. Total stats are 59k HP, 4.8k defense, 269 speed, and 350 accuracy. With Hydra bonuses, 63k HP, 5.1k defense, 289 speed, and 430 accuracy. Firrol is sitting with a Gilded Dragonstone as his relic. He has Brimstone. He's my Brimstone. He's my Smite debuffer. And finally for Masteries, here we go. Once again, I do have a Firrol guide out there if you're interested in understanding why I haven't built the way I do. My secondary damage dealer on my composition is Teox. He is sitting with 2-piece Slayer just as a nice little crit damage and crit rate bonus, and 4-piece Savage. His total stats are 47k HP, 6.6k attack, 230 speed, and 300 crit damage. With Hydra bonuses, we're looking at 51k HP, almost 7k attack, 250 speed, 330 crit damage. For his relic, he's using a Cat's Gaze. For his blessing, Soul Reap. And for his masteries, we have the following. You should be looking for a guide for Teox coming out within probably the next couple months. He's a great champ, really great for PvE, very, very much relevant in Arena as well. And last, but certainly not least, is going to be Mad Hatter. He is sitting in triple impulse and Firrol from the accessories. Total stats on him are just under 80k HP, 3.9k defense, 285 speed, and 500 accuracy. With Hydra bonuses, we're looking at 83.5k HP, 4.1k defense, 305 speed, and 579 accuracy. For his relic, he's once again using a Molten Death Bell. For his blessing, he's sitting under cruelty. He's my highest cruelty user. So I could look potentially to change out Mikage's, but she's also optimized for other parts of the game. And finally, his masteries are as follows. Be looking for my Mad Hatter guide to be coming out again sometime within the next month or two. And there you have it, everybody. The official 1 billion damage Nightmare Hydra showcase featuring none other than Ninja. If you found this guide helpful, please consider liking and subscribing for more content in the future. Let me know down in the comments below if there's any other guides or showcases that you'd like to see. Thank you for watching the video. Thank you for your time. Have a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.